the Jim Walden Good Sports Show with Jim Walden and Chuck Reed. The Jim Walden Good Sports Show is brought to you by Prairie Meadows Racetrack and Casino, Pioneer Hybrid, the Iowa Lottery, Victor's Sports Club, and Schaenauer and Company.
Welcome again to another Jim Walden Good Sports Show. We have a great show in mind for you today. I'll tell you quickly who we've got. We've got two special guests for us. We have Bill Peters. This is Breeder Cup week. My man,
Big week.
Chucky, it's probably as big, if not bigger, than the Kentucky Derby. So Bill Peters, who is an Iowa horseman, is an owner, is going to talk with us. We also have the McWilliams family. You've heard of the Von Trapp family singers. This is the McWilliams family volleyballers, and they're going to be with us. And so, Chuck, why don't you take it now and tell us about the highlights?
Well, we've got 4 games to show everybody this week. We've got the big win for Iowa yesterday at Penn State, an outstanding win for the Hawkeyes. We've got a tough loss for the Cyclones down at Stillwater against Oklahoma State. We've got a big win for Nebraska. This was not a pretty one, but the Huskers got it done, won at 24-10 down in Lubbock, Texas.
Right.
And also Simpson's big win against Central. They take control of the Iowa Conference. Only the 4th time they've beaten Central since 1956, so 4 in 40 years. So it was a big win for the Storm.
They better, is that the old case you better enjoy?
There's not a whole lot to enjoy, but they enjoyed this one yesterday. A big win. We'll show you highlights of that game. So we've got those games to look forward to. We're going to start it off right now with the Iowa game in State College, Pennsylvania against Penn State. You know, it's cold and flu season.
Boy, was that unbelievable?
Boy, what an awful
that
day
in, and I thought, my word, but now I know why they're not playing baseball back there. How about this, Chuck?
Hey, Tim Dwight, an 83-yard punt return, really I thought was a big play to spark the Hawkeyes. There you see the great speed by Tim. First quarter ties it up at 7. That was a very big play. Tim also had another big play here in the second quarter, a 61-yard reception from Matt Sherman. He almost takes it all the way in. They're just going to get him right here inside the 5, but that set up a touchdown to put Iowa up 14-10. They would trail it, though, 20-14 after this at the half. You'll see Aaron Harris break outside, drop it, pick it up, and run it in. That's good coaching.
You know, twice that happened yesterday. I think a Nebraska kid did the same thing. Drop a ball, pick it up, and run it in for a touchdown.
And at Oklahoma State, we'll see that, too, where a guy fumbled before going into the end zone. But here's the game winner, Tavian Banks. What a great day for Tavian, filling in for Cedric Shaw. He takes it in 8 yards. That made it 21-20. The Hawks upset Penn State. They're tied for first in the Big Ten. And I'll tell you what, that was a huge win because that's going to pay big dividends come bowl time.
Well, no question about it. My comments about that I've written down here. Hayden Fry, great coach. I would like to say that to all the Hawkeye people. You have an outstanding football coach. Understand that and stop trying to psychoanalyze and take him apart every time there's something that gets a little off center. He's been there. He's done that. Most of the things any of you people could think about, he's already experienced, so that you're never going to think of anything he hasn't already tried. He's working with these young people in regard to the booing, which I've put off. But I just want to say this. I've heard people call in and say, well, maybe it got them going. Our booing got them going. As a former coach, let me tell you, booing never gets anyone going. Cheer, that gets them going. Support gets them going. I wrote a little comical note here. You never hear people boo in a basketball arena at a college game. Is that because of the booze? So if boozing makes you boo, stop boozing because booing does not help teams get better. Support them. Matt Sherman, outstanding day. Just overall, you can't say enough. The defense was absolutely
How about
swarming.
Damian Robinson at safety? What a performance.
Where did they get this guy? I've not heard that much about him, Chuck, and he is starting to be a dynamite football player. So hats off to Iowa. Great victory yesterday, and good luck this week against a good Ohio State football team.
Ohio State comes to town next Saturday. A game that will go a long way in determining who plays in Pasadena on New Year's Day.
Yeah, and a long way towards a lot of people going to the game. They can only sell 150,000 seats this week, probably.
That's probably true, but there'll only be 70,000. But let's move on to Stillwater, Oklahoma, where the Cyclones took on the Cowboys in a homecoming matchup. I bet that guy last week at Remington Park. I'm not lying to you, and he didn't run any better when I bet him.
Yesterday was a big day for horses. The Cowboy horses at Okie State, and then the Cowboys we're going to see next week.
And this horse right here.
And here's a horse. It was a great week of horses.
Yeah. 6-yard touchdown run made it 17-0 Iowa State. Now in the third quarter, you'll see a great play fake. Todd Dodson finds Dennis DiBiase. That made it 24-7 Iowa State midway through the third, and I thought things looked awfully good, but then they just couldn't stop Oklahoma State. Tony Jones taking it 8 yards in the third quarter. That cut the lead to 24-21. And then you'll see the game winner right here, Andre Richardson, who came in for David Thompson, just squirts his way through. He'll drop the football, and there'll be a scramble, but you know who recovered it?
Unbelievable.
Richardson gets it in the end zone. You'll see him at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. There he is. He pops up holding the football as the Cowboys, behind a big offensive effort, knock off Iowa State 28-27 in a very tough game.
Well, that's a great word. That's the buzzword, tough pill to swallow. Unfortunately, we've all, if you stay in coaching long enough, you'd never want that to happen to you. You get out in front, you want to keep rolling, but it does. It was a heartbreaker, and there's not a darn thing you can do about it except just to regroup. But it was a day of running backs and running games. I just made notes this morning. Troy, congratulations to you for being the most prolific runner in Iowa State history, which I think is a foregone conclusion.
Right.
But we need to do. That's a positive. But I thought it was kind of amazing that Thompson and Richardson collaborated yesterday for 331 yards. Troy Davis got 238 by himself. Darren got another 40. So there's almost 300 yards on each team. So what it really boiled down to is neither one of them could stop the other one. It just broke down here. It was just a day of running backs, and neither defensive team could get them stopped. And so all you can say for the Iowa State people is regroup, have faith, believe in yourselves, and good things will happen.
Yeah, they go down to Waco next week to take on Baylor, so another tough game for Iowa State, but they are showing signs of improvement, and I think that's a positive everyone can take forward. That was a good offensive effort for about 3 quarters yesterday on the road. Let's move to Lubbock, Texas, where the Cornhuskers of Nebraska went down to face Texas Tech, and this little girl knows that if the Huskers run the table, they can still be #1. That's right. But you'll see the defense make a big play for Nebraska. Byron Hansbard coughs it up. Terrell Farley picks it up, runs it in 21 yards. Nebraska goes up 7-0. The defense scoring, which is getting to be a pretty common occurrence at Nebraska games. Now you'll see Scott Frost throw an awful pass. That's a terrible pass. Robert Johnson picks it off, runs it in 9 yards. That ties the game up at 7. That was Texas Tech's only touchdown scored against their offense. But Frost regroups, follow your fullbacks back into the end zone, takes it in 3 yards. That made it 17-10. They would add one in the 4th quarter to make the final 24-10. A very ugly game for Nebraska. 7 fumbles, an interception, 11 penalties. They still get the win, though, and that's the important thing.
Well, that's true, Chuck. There's no adage in coaching that there is no such thing as an ugly victory. But as far as Nebraska goes, it was probably rank up there. They had 7 fumbles, lost 4, had one interception for a touchdown, and had 11 penalties for 100 yards. You can't win national championships doing that, even though I think they played an outstanding defensive team. They had the stats to go with it. Last thing we're going to say is for Nebraska to repeat as a national champion, they've got to develop a better passing game than they have right now. I know they're trying, and this young man's wearing a lot of things as far as Scott Frost, but irregardless, they're going to have to throw the ball a little better. They're not going to win a national championship.
Right, you can't depend on your defense to score a touchdown every game. They had a punt return down to the 4 by Benning. That set up another touchdown, so they had problems offensively, but yet get the W, and they keep rolling. They'll bounce back. Their offense is better than what they showed yesterday. Texas Tech, though, a good defensive ball club.
Maybe one of the best in the country.
I agree. Let's go locally here to Indianola, Iowa, where the Iowa Conference boiled down to the big game between Simpson and Central. There you see Ron Skipper. He was not a happy man yesterday, and there's a pretty good reason why. Here you'll see Guy Lehman for Simpson taking in 6 yards up the middle. That put the Storm up 7-0 in the 1st quarter. We all know Mark Kaklinski can run it. Well, he's not the greatest looking passer in the world, but it does work. An 8-yard touchdown pass to Justin Quas, and Central hung in there, had a big second half, but they couldn't find an answer for this guy, Corey Christensen. What a big day for him. One of 4 touchdown runs on the day. He rushed for 159 yards as Simpson upset Central. I'm going to call it an upset, 41-37, a very big win for Simpson. They take control of the Iowa Conference. They're 5-0, Central's 4-1. Simpson's 6-0 overall on the year. The Storm's having a great year.
Well, yeah, I think you could say it was an upset, but really, by the way the records are going right now, it wouldn't classify itself necessarily to be. But I want to say it was an outstanding day, Chuck. Great day for football. Division III people should be extremely proud. Wonderful game. 6,000 people at the ball game, and 2 great coaches. So hats off to them for a wonderful game. To Jim Williams, a great win. Another big salute to UNI and Drake, both winning games yesterday, and so it was an overall pretty good day for sports in Iowa.
Great day, and we didn't need Game 1 of the World Series. We had enough football yesterday, but that's the highlights for this week's show, and we're going to be back right after these messages with an interview with the #1 volleyball family in the state of Iowa, the McWilliams family. Stay tuned.
I have to learn, or I have learned over the years, that I can't keep pressuring them as daughters. So I have to give them some space, have them some time to think on their own, and just sort of leave them alone a little bit.
Join us at Prairie Meadows Racetrack and Casino on October 26th for simulcast coverage of the single richest day in horse racing, the Breeders' Cup. The world's fastest thoroughbreds competing for $11 million in purses, including the $4 million Breeders' Cup Classic. And try your hand at the challenging Pick 7, the 13th annual Breeders' Cup. Don't miss it!
Prairie Meadows Racetrack and Casino, your favorite place to play.
There's one seed company bringing you technology. Technology that yields.
Welcome back to the Jim Walden Good Sports Show. And this week we had the opportunity to go visit the #1 volleyball family in the state of Iowa, the McWilliams family of the top-ranked Grandview Park Baptist Defenders.
Good people. I enjoyed this immensely, so let's take a look. Our special guest, as you can see today, is the McWilliams family volleyball. They don't sing, they play volleyball, and we're glad to have them on our show. Dick, I'm going to start with you. Let me introduce. This is Dick McWilliams, the coach at Grandview Park Baptist. This is Jill, and this is Michelle. And this represents one of the finest volleyball programs in this state, maybe of the classification, maybe one of the best in the country. Dick, let me get right to it. Why did you, how long had you been coaching volleyball, and where did you use as a ground for learning in the game?
Okay, we basically coached here about 6 years, and in 1981 and 1982 I went down to Lamoni to Graceland College and went to the USVBA coaching clinics and learned how to play volleyball down there. I never played it myself, but I always wanted to be able to coach my girls, and I went down there and learned.
Well, that brings up a special point. Now, you wanted to coach them. I coached all my life. I didn't want to coach my kids. I'll start with you, Jill. Have you enjoyed that? Is it good having Dad as your coach?
I do like having him as a coach because you can, well, first of all, it's the only thing that I've really known because he used to coach Little League softball teams and basketball and then volleyball once we got into high school, so we were kind of used to it. And I like to be able to talk to him and give him my opinion. He doesn't always take it, but at least he'll sit there and listen to me.
Okay, Michelle, big sister now, father coaching. Where does this child fit in all this? Is this something you wanted to do? You feel like you have to do this? Is it a welcome thing that you do as part of this family and the volleyball thing?
It's more, I want to play. I like it. I don't feel any pressure or anything because we're all involved in sports, so it's not like I feel I have to or anything. And it's a lot of fun because Jill can give me ideas to help me get better because she's gone to different camps with different people, and so that helps a lot too.
Okay, back to you, the oldest sister. Having father at home, having coach on the team, is there a time when maybe I'll ask your opinion just a minute, Dick, but is there a time when you're home when it's enough, is it too much? I mean, do you have some space?
Usually we do. Sometimes we have to say, okay, stop talking about volleyball, and we don't anymore, but we try and mainly at home not to talk about it very much, and when we're at home, he's my dad, not my coach, so it's different at home.
Yeah, I know it's different at home. Now, I want the same thing for you. As the coach, you're home. You have two daughters who are two of the better players on the team. Certainly, Jill has proven that. In fact, that she's just accepted a scholarship to go to University of Nebraska, so he has to be pretty good. Is it hard for you, Dick, not to talk to your daughters about volleyball all the time? I mean, I know you have to be their father, but does it creep up?
Not too much, really. I think when I'm excited about the game just after a game, and maybe we're traveling home on the bus or maybe in the car, and the adrenaline's still flowing, I tend to bring up the topic. But when we get home, I like to let it die because I think, like you say, and like Jill said, I think that's when I should be their father rather than their coach. We'll talk about it a little bit, but I have to learn, or I have learned over the years, that I can't keep pressuring them as daughters. So I have to give them some space, have some time to think on their own, and just sort of leave them alone a little bit, because you can overdo it as a parent, so I don't want to push them.
What's the rest of the family? More sisters, more brothers?
We have a brother,
little brother,
a freshman.
Richie.
Freshman boy. Does he go here? Is he going to
Yeah.
go skiing?
Yeah.
Well, they don't have boys volleyball. Do they have men's sports here at Grandview?
He plays soccer right now.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Does he have to, you guys like him a little bit, or does he take a lot of guff from big sisters or what?
No, we like him, but he doesn't. He's kind of getting tired of all the volleyball tournaments, but he always has put up with us and gone to all of our tournaments and stuff, so we try and make it to as many of his games as we can.
Okay, Michelle, when's the state tournament? When are you going to start to really get into the deal? Are you getting close?
Yeah, we start next Monday, and we play here.
Okay. So your record right now, Dick, is?
32-2-1, and we've lost to some very good schools, Western Christian up at Hull, Iowa, and Pella Christian, and they're big teams.
Are they both in your division?
No, they're in 2A.
Okay,
both
so
in 2A.
You haven't lost a ball game
No.
to anyone in your division?
Not in 1A. So, as a matter of fact, in our 35 matches, we've only played 7 1A schools. So most of the time we're playing 2A and 3A schools.
Well, I just think it's great. I want to thank you all for taking the time to be on, and want to wish you all the luck in the world, both at the University of Nebraska. I coach there, and I know they have an outstanding volleyball program, and so I hope you'll be extremely happy there, Jill. And Michelle, I want to tell you a funny story. Michelle, you tell them, Michelle, quickly. Tell the story what you did to me.
When he coached at Iowa State, our school does a workathon that goes out and helps elderly people rake their yards or clean windows or fix the roofs and all, just different stuff. And some of the money goes to our tuition assistance program. And so one day I went to a football game, and I went out onto the field and grabbed Jim Walden and said, "Hey, I want you to pledge me for workathon." And I gave him a letter and different stuff, and I didn't think he'd do anything. And then I came back to school, and they said, "Jim Walden pledged her? Oh, my word."
So I just want you to know I'm helping the people here at Grandview Park Baptist. I paid my dues. Anybody that run out on the field and grab me, of course, there was a lot of people like to grab me, but I'm glad it was a pretty girl instead of some of those mangy guys that used to try to do that. And for all the McWilliams family, thank you so much for being on the show, and the very best as you pursue the state championship.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Now, she's a good volleyball player, but she's really something if she can get money out of you.
Well, and she got money out of me coming off the football field. I don't know if she's going to be a success in volleyball, but she's going to be a success in business, I'll tell you that. 'Cause, I mean, she just walked right up. I remember it and handed me this and said, would you pledge me? I had no idea what she was talking about, and I'd forgotten all about it. But I was glad I did send some money, because then they didn't think I was so cheap.
Exactly.
But
a nice
that's
family.
a nice family. It
They'll
really
be
is.
very tough in the state volleyball tournament. 25 wins against bigger schools in one season. That's a pretty impressive feat.
Well, you know, and I just think, on top of that, they were nice people and very accommodating, and so we wish them all the success.
Yes, all the best to the defenders of Grandview Park Baptist. Good luck in the state volleyball tournament. Coming up, it's Breeders' Cup week in horse racing, and we've got an interview with one of, I think, 3 Iowans who's actually run a horse in the Breeders' Cup. So you want to stay tuned right after these messages with an interview with Bill Peters.
It just makes you shiver. It really does. It's also the great thrill of being there, but if you would happen to win that thing, it's unreal.
Join us at Prairie Meadows Racetrack and Casino on October 26th for simulcast coverage of the single richest day in horse racing, the Breeders' Cup. The world's fastest thoroughbreds competing for $11 million in purses, including the $4 million Breeders' Cup Classic. And try your hand at the challenging Pick 7, the 13th annual Breeders' Cup. Don't miss it!
Prairie Meadows Racetrack and Casino, your favorite place to play.
Trust. Perhaps the most important thing in your accounting, auditing, and income tax preparation needs. Experience. A team of dedicated and competent professionals who believe no job is too big or too small. Service. 7 offices located throughout the state for your convenience, featuring state-of-the-art systems. Shaneauer and Company, certified public accountants. Come in and let us show you that we are accountable.
Years ago, the key to poker was keeping a good poker face. Never giving away your hand. There were the good, the bad, and the, well, you know.
But today, poker faces look like this, thanks to the Iowa Lottery's Jacks Are Better scratch games. Now you can let everyone know when you have a good hand, especially if you win $10,000. Play Jacks Are Better anytime, anywhere.
And those old-time poker faces will be history.
Welcome back to the Jim Walden Good Sports Show, and it's Breeders' Cup weekend horse racing. And for those of you who don't know about Breeders' Cup, it's the championship day of horse racing. There are 7 championship races, and it's like the Super Bowl of horse racing.
Right.
Only the best horses in the world gather. This year it's in Toronto. Last year it was in New York, where our guest Bill Peters ran Mariah Storm, his great filly. She finished 9th, but she was there, and it was a great thing for Bill. He'll talk about that in this interview right here.
Well, it's Breeders' Cup week, and as you can see, we're sitting at the Prairie Meadows Television Center, where all of these telecasts will be bringing Breeders' Cup. For us to know what the heck is Breeders' Cup, we've got Bill Peters, an Iowa horseman, and a man who has actually had a horse in the Breeders' Cup. Bill, it's nice to have you with us.
Same to you, Jim. Glad to be here.
Well, let me ask you a question. Now, you've had a horse in the race. What is Breeders' Cup to a horseman?
It's probably one of the greatest thrills we've ever had. Outside of Kentucky Derby, I suppose the Breeders' Cup is probably the next best races in the United States for sure. You know, they pick about the best horses that can get in the Breeders' Cup. And it's just a great honor to be there.
Well, Bill, is it a race for all ages? What's the limitations of Breeders' Cup? Why is it such a fantastic race?
Well, first thing to get about probably the best 2-year-olds in the United States.
Oh, okay.
And out of the country also, England, Japan, or whatever. And then they'll go with 3-year-olds and 3 and up, and that's about what you have. That's about what you have at every place.
Okay.
But it's just a great. It's just great. Just like it is the World Series.
All right, Mariah Storm, you had a horse in the race last year. When that gate opens, I mean, it's got to be a rush. I mean, is it exciting? I mean, I know it is, but just how do you feel when you have a horse in a race? I've always seen movies of people doing it, but is it really a thrill to see that gate open?
Well, I use 2 towels to start with.
Okay. Because you generally got $1 or $2 on it, huh?
Well, if I've got to the window in time.
Okay.
But it just makes you shiver. It really does. It's also the great thrill of being there. But if you would happen to win that thing, it's unreal. But also, Jim, you can win a race here at Prairie Meadows, and you get a thrill.
Okay.
If you have a horse that can win no matter where you run, it's a great thrill to win a race.
Now, Bill, speaking of that, how many horses do you own right now?
We have 14.
14, and a lot of them you run quite a bit out here at Prairie Meadows.
We're going to plan on running more here. Prairie Meadows are doing very good right now, and it sounds like it's going to get better.
Okay.
And so we're going to try to get involved in it a little more.
All right. You've been in the race. I want to ask you about the horse. Cigar is probably running his last race. Is Cigar in there in the top 1 or 2 of the best horses that's ever been a race horse?
I think he's got to be, Jim. Cigar, he proved everything that he could prove. He did everything I've asked him to. Now, of course, he might be getting a little tired now.
Yeah.
We'll find out the Breeders' Cup.
You think he's got a chance?
I do.
He's the guy to beat, huh?
I think he's the guy to beat, and I think the public will think he's the guy to beat.
Well, I certainly know the public's going to be pulling for him. I've never seen so much sentiment for, maybe it's his name, I don't know.
No,
everybody seems to love that horse.
It's not his name, it's he's just so good that, and most people like a champion. And he certainly is a champion. We'd love to have something like it.
Well, Bill Peters, we want to thank you for being on our show. We're setting up this, it's Breeders' Cup week. It's one of the biggest races in the world. It's going to be in Canada, I understand. Will that make a difference, Woodbine?
No.
No matter where it goes, it's still going to be big, huh?
It'll make no difference cigar in Arabia.
That's true.
No, it won't make any difference.
All right. Bill Peters, thanks for being on our show.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bill's a good man, and it should be a great week at Breeders' Cup weekend. Climax Saturday, 7 championship race. It'll be on TV. If you are interested in betting at Prairie Meadows, 10 a.m., I'll be there, and it's going to be a great day.
Stop doing commercials, but we do want to appreciate Bill, and it was interesting talking with him about how it feels to have a horse in that race, and you can only let your mind wander when that gate flies open and you have a horse in there. It has to be one heck of a rush, man, to see it come. So anyway, we'll be right back, I guess.
Right, wrap things up right after these messages.
Join us at Prairie Meadows Racetrack and Casino on October 26th for simulcast coverage of the single richest day in horse racing, the Breeders' Cup. The world's fastest thoroughbreds competing for $11 million in purses, including the $4 million Breeders' Cup Classic. And try your hand at the challenging Pick 7, the 13th annual Breeders' Cup. Don't miss it!
Prairie Meadows Racetrack and Casino, your favorite place to play.
For good food and good fellowship and fun, try Victor Sports Club in Urbandale. Their menu features delicious appetizers and great sandwiches. It's also a great place to meet and make friends. If you're looking for the perfect place to watch a big game, to celebrate a big victory, or just have a good time, Victor's is certainly for you.
Hi, I'm Tim Edwards, owner of Victor Sports Club. Stop in anytime for a good time. We're located at 7500 Douglas Avenue in Urbandale.
Welcome back, and to wrap things up, you've got quite a few hats off this week.
Well, I thought we would say William Penn. How can you not say hats off to William Penn?
Way to go, statesman.
You bet. They just broke a 26-game losing streak. Air Force Academy in a gigantic, maybe more to the humongous victory with an overtime victory over Notre Dame. Oregon State, wonderful victory yesterday over Stanford. I just don't think you can say enough about the old Beavers. They're trying to get it regrouped very much like some of the other teams that are trying to do it. Dick, I want to say this, Chuck, yesterday, Friday night, one of the longest, one of our good coaching buddies, Dick, it's either Teague or Tig, at Webster City High School became Iowa's high school's winningest coach. He's won 246 games in 35 years of coaching in this state. So big hats off to him, and it's a great week.
Webster City having another great year.
But next week, John Cooper, fine head coach from Ohio State. Danny Tyler, the gold medal winner softball player. Weeks ahead, Lisa Bluter, the women's basketball coach, Gary Barnett, Tommy Frazier, Tom Davis, Barry Alvarez. We got some nice things coming, Chuck.
Big shows coming up.
Well, for Jim Walden, for Chuck Reed, reminding all of you to always be a good sport.
You've been watching the Jim Walden Good Sports Show with Jim Walden and Chuck Reed. The Jim Walden Good Sports Show has been brought to you by Prairie Meadows Racetrack and Casino, Pioneer Hybrid, the Iowa Lottery, Victor Sports Club, and Shanauer and Company.